the interesting thing, I was up here and having a good time, but it was the first time in almost 50 years that I spent a Father's Day without one of my kids. So how many of you guys spent time with your dads yesterday? And no, dads. Okay, all right. Okay, it was only Father's Day for one guy back there, but I always took the being a parent, the fatherhood thing very, very seriously because I didn't have a dad. My grandmother raised me, and probably the most important lesson I ever learned about parenthood I got from my grandmother, and it's probably one of the oldest memories that I have. I was probably about 4 years old. We attended this church, and it was, I guess, a typical church where there was a large center aisle, and there was pews on both sides, and at the front of the church, there was these three big chairs, and the center chair was the biggest, and that's where the pastor sat. And on each side were the assistant pastors. And so we would go to church a lot. On Sunday, we spent the whole day at church. But in the evening, about 6:30 before service started, it was study time. And the adults studied in the front of the church, and we children were in the back. The teenagers on one side, and the little kids were on the left. And I remember sitting there just kind of, tuning out. The lady who taught the children was Sister Addie, and she was just kind of a real stern lady, not the nicest person, but she was really, really tough. And I was just kind of there, and I was sort of swinging my feet, and it was kind of a nice evening, and I was watching the fly go by, and she said, "Hey, pay attention. I'm trying to teach you something, stupid." And so I said, "Okay, yes, ma'am," and I'm trying to pay attention, but it was such a nice day, and I started looking around, and on the ceiling, there was like something up there, and then she said, "Hey, I'm talking to you," and she reached across, and she thumped me on the head. And it hurt, and it hurt my feelings, and I started to cry. I mean, I just started to just bawl because, and my mother, who was in the front of the church, I remember I looked up and I saw her down there, and she turned almost like in slow motion. And we made eye contact, and I'm saying my mother's my grandmother. She got up and she walked to the center aisle, and she started down that aisle, and everything stopped. I mean, everything. She walked with this intensity that I had never seen before, and she came back and she got to Sister Addie and she said, "Did you hit him?" And Sister Addie said, "Well, I didn't hit him." She said, "Did you hit my boy?" And Sister Addie said, "Well, I thumped him." And my grandmother was this small lady, about 5'4". She said, "This is my boy. You got a problem with him, you come and see me about it, but don't you touch my child." And Sister Addie dropped her eyes. It was almost like high noon, and she sort of backed up. And then my grandmother reached across, and she wiped the tears away, and she said, "You all right, baby?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am." And then she, with her arm on my shoulder, she turned and she just sort of scanned the church as if to say, "He belongs to me." And then she walked back and she sat down. Every child needs to belong to somebody. I had my grandmother's protection. So, and the respect that she had in the community, I got it because I belonged to her. And I see so many families with kids, and they don't give their kids that sense of belonging, that sense of I'm a part of, that I got your back. Now, I tell my sons, if you did something wrong, I'm going to let you know that you did something stupid, but I got your back.